All right, so we've been hitting the immune system really hard here. The immune system and the inflammatory system, same idea. Inflammation is immunity, inflammation is defense. We've been talking how all of this regards the skin. If you have rashes or breakouts or pimples or little hard bumps on the skin, those are called milia or keratoses. You want to think about what is getting into your system that's activating this immune/inflammatory response. This idea of inflammation is really important to get our minds around if we're going to be dealing with, if we're going to be able to reverse or correct a health condition, if we're just going to understand how the body works. Number one, because of the important relationship between inflammation/immunity/defensive responses and I mean all health issues. And given that the body is a perfect system, the human biological system is perfectamundo. It is perfect. It is finely tuned. It is refined. It has been crafted by millions of years of evolutionary forces and divine intelligence. Given that the body is this perfect system, doesn't it make sense that if we have any kind of disease state, if we have any kind of malfunctioning in the body, that it would have to do with something that's coming into the body from the outside, some kind of attacking agent? The body is a closed system, and it is perfect, my friends. It does trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions, countless amounts of chemical reactions. Hundreds of thousands of chemicals are produced by every single one of the trillions of cells every minute of the day. This is a perfect system that is staggering and beyond comprehension in its amazingness and complexity. That means that if something is messed up in this system, something has gotten into it. Something has gotten into it from the outside. That's why I say that if we have a health challenge, we're dealing with some kind of defensive response to an offending agent. Number two, this idea of inflammation and immunity and defensive responses, this idea of inflammation being associated with all health issues is important because of how unobvious and counterintuitive inflammatory processes are. This is the idea that we talk about all the time on the bright side of microinflammation, microscopic inflammation. You very rarely hear about this. The average, typical, conventional medical representative, be it a doctor, nurse, or dietitian, will all tell you about inflammation. They all say, oh, inflammation, you got to worry about inflammation, there's inflammatory factors, etc. And this is pretty obvious. Macroinflammation, but the real problem is microscopic, invisible inflammation. And remember, inflammation is a barricading, a beaver's dam, a protective response, a walling off of toxicity, or a walling off of dead cells, or a walling off of defective cells. And this microinflammation occurs at the teeny tiny level of a cell, and it requires inference. You got to use your mind's eye. You got to use your imagination to understand how this is all occurring. So number one, this idea of inflammation is difficult and important to get our minds around because it's related to all disease. And I'm talking everything as from something as minor as a pimple to as major as cancer. Microinflammation, immunity, defensive response is behind everything. And number two, it's counterintuitive. You got to use your imagination. You got to use your mind's eye to picture how this is all occurring. We said so many times on this program, on the bright side, all disease is cell disease. But to really understand what this means, we got to use our imagination. We got to use our X-ray vision, our mind's eye, to picture the body as a composite of, just like raisin bread is a composite, the human body is a composite. Organs, structures, glands, systems, the whole thing is a composition of raisins and bread. Or more accurately in the body, cells and stuff. It's made like raisin bread. Just like if you look at a slice of raisin bread, you see raisins and bread. The body's the same way, except the raisins are cells and the bread is stuff. Okay, it's not stuff. It's extracellular matrix, or it's the matrix. I'm going to call it stuff. And the cells are embedded in the stuff like raisins are embedded in bread. Really, the cells blend into the bread, so that there's not much, there's a very fine distinction between the cells and the bread, but for our purposes, we'll call it raisins and bread, cells and stuff, and it's the interface between the raisins and the bread, the juncture, the meeting point between the raisins and the bread, between the cells and the stuff, where the edge of the cell meets the stuff, where the raisin meets the bread, where the cell meets the stuff, this is where disease begins. And I'm talking all disease, at the juncture of the cell and the stuff. Why is this important? Because no drugs can help you here. No surgical procedures can help you here. No doctor can help you here. No pharmacist can help you here. No representative of this corrupt, money-grubbing, predatory medical model can help you here. But we can help ourselves. We have power over this interface between the cells and the stuff. This juncture, this meeting point between cells and stuff, raisins and bread, is literally a tiny, tiny sliver. I mean tiny sliver of tissue, of atomic or molecular matter that we call the cell membrane. We'll finish up when we come back from our break. Hang tight. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You are listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back after this. Okay, so got the raisins, got the bread, got the cells, got the stuff, and right where the cells meet the stuff, right at that interface, you've got the coating of a cell, that's called the cell membrane, and this is the juncture, the point of disease, the cell membrane. And I mean brain because it is a brain. It's the information processor, as we've said so many times. It's the information processor of a cell. It's where the environment is read and interpreted and then communicated. This is what information processing is. The membrane reads the environment, what the cell is swimming in, what the stuff is like around the cell, and then communicates that message, whatever it's reading from the stuff or from the bread, and communicates that message to the inside of a cell. This membrane is highly electrical. It's highly charged with fats. Cholesterol especially, but also fatty acids. And this is why fat absorption or fat malabsorption is so significant. This is how we started talking about this whole subject. Fats are electrical. They conduct electrical energy. If you've had a gallbladder taken out, if you have liver problems, if you have intestinal problems, if you have a pancreas problem, if you're not making enough stomach acid, you are at risk for problems with processing fats, and that means cell membrane problems as well. And I can't think of one single health issue that does not involve, at some level, fats and fatty vitamins, or fat malabsorption, or lack of fatty nutrients. For us to correct the problem at the cell level, at the cell membrane level, and we're talking here, guys, autoimmune disease, we're talking heart disease, we're talking cancer, we're talking skin problems like acne and bumps and rashes. For correction to take place, and I say correction, I don't say healing, because I don't like to think of the body as being sick. I like to think of the body as somehow not processing things correctly. We're not really sick. We're basically starving. We don't need to be fixed. We need to be fed. And it doesn't matter whether our problem is in the kidney, or whether it's in the heart, or whether it's in the bone, or whether it's in the skin. For us to correct any health issue, we simply have to address the overall issue of cell membrane and ultimately cell health, and that means nutrition, oxygenation, and allowing the body to clean itself out, detoxification. This is why the digestive system is so important. The digestive system is obviously the source of nutrition. The digestive system is the source of toxicity, and ultimately the digestive system is going to affect how a cell is breathed, how it obtains oxygen, and how it gets its energy and respiratory processes, or how its respiratory processes work. The key to all health issues is ultimately going to be the digestive system. It is the portal for the entry into the body of all attacking inflammatory agents, but it's counterintuitive. You got to kind of use your imagination to picture how this is happening. In a sense, when we talk about the skin, this is kind of a classic case of how we don't understand how the body works. We look at the skin and we see just this inert covering, so we figure, well, I'll just rub some stuff on it and that'll be it. We'll just rub whatever on it. And doctors fall for this, and skincare professionals fall for this, and we all fall for this to a certain extent. That's why the skincare business is a multi-billion-dollar business. We just think we can rub stuff on because it doesn't look like anything's happening. But the structure we call the skin is just like the structure, any structure inside the body. It's made up of raisins and bread. It's made up of cells and stuff. If you got a skin problem, you got a skin cell problem. And if you have a skin cell problem, you got a skin cell membrane problem. And if you got a skin cell membrane problem, you got a fat problem. That means not enough essential fatty acids, not enough ultimate EFAs, not enough fatty vitamins, not enough vitamin A, not enough vitamin D, or perhaps a lack of absorption of these nutrients. At the microscopic level, we, as the macroscopic owner of our cells, may not even know we got a problem until it becomes significant enough to change the way a whole bunch of cells are doing their business. When it's 1 or 2 cells, we don't notice it. When it's 3 or 4 cells, we don't notice it. But when it's 1 million cells or 10 million cells, then all of a sudden, we got a pimple or a rash or milia. And all of it is starting from how cells are making their stuff or how cells are dividing and growing and maturing, which ultimately is a result of some kind of breakdown or defect at the cell membrane level. The moral of this whole story is that the process begins at the level of a cell, specifically the covering of the cell membrane. Somehow, somewhere, a cell membrane is not getting what it needs, and ultimately a cell is not getting what it needs in terms of food, oxygen, or detoxification. And this is what we mean when we say all disease is cell disease. So, we've isolated the cell, specifically the covering of the cell, as the cause of our problem. Now, what do we do? Well, let's ask ourselves specifically where this problem is occurring. Specifically, where this issue, whatever our health issue, is occurring. This answer is going to be very critical if we're really going to change our cell-based condition. No drugs are going to work here. No doctors are going to work here. Dermatological practices can only hide and disguise at this level. So if we zoom in to the skin, we'll see the cell that is at the core of our pimples and milia, psoriasis, or whatever, and ultimately you're going to find a skin cell that is producing too much keratin. Keratin is that hard protein that's like your fingernails, and if you're dealing with pimples or milia or psoriasis, you're going to find an excess production of keratin. Next question, what is the control point for the production, or rather overproduction, of keratin? This is important because if we're going to stabilize the production of some kind of cell product, we got to locate the command center for cell processing, and this command center is going to be our target if we're going to correct the problem. Everything we're doing here, folks, is asking questions, trying to figure out how our health challenge is being created. So this can actually be thought of as something called troubleshooting. You can Google troubleshooting, and it actually has a definition. Troubleshooting is essentially a systematic backtracking search for a problem done in a logical fashion so that the problem can be eliminated, i.e. reversed. This is what doctors should be doing. If you go to a doctor or a dermatologist and this is not being done, if your doctor or dermatologist is not troubleshooting your health challenge, you are being exploited. You are being taken advantage of. What's that you say? Your doctor has not has not done any troubleshooting? Your doctor hasn't backtracked your heart disease, your immune disease, your skin disease to find a problem? You mean your doctor has not used troubleshooting techniques to figure out where the glitch is that's showing up as zits or psoriasis or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or hidradenitis suppurativa or whatever Latin designation or diagnosis he's given you? He hasn't backtracked? He hasn't troubleshot? He's just giving you a word, a phrase, a diagnosis, a name, and then giving you a drug? He's a busy man. He can't be expected to really solve the problem. He's a doctor. His job is to jury rig, to use the chemical or surgical version of bubblegum and duct tape to make everything work and send you on your way. He's busy. He's a busy man or woman. You can't be expected to really solve your problem. That's why we have drugs. That's why we have surgeries. We can cut things out. Nobody will know the difference. Excuse my sarcasm, because really, for the most part, when we have health issues, we can do the whole thing ourselves. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. Let's see. We got a few more things to say. All right, we're back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking fats and fatty vitamins. Actually, we're talking the skin cell and the skin cell membrane, which means we're talking fats and fatty vitamins. If you've had a gallbladder removed, have digestive problems, stomach problems, you're not making enough stomach acid, really anything in the digestive system that goes wrong can impair the body's ability to absorb fats. Fats are trickier to absorb than water. Water-soluble nutrients, as important as those are much easier to absorb and to utilize, to process than fatty substances. So if you have any kind of issues, any kind of digestive issues, the chances are really good that you're going to be dealing with a vitamin A deficiency and essential fatty acid deficiency, that you may be dealing with a deficiency in vitamin E or vitamin D or minerals, because it turns out that many minerals also require a fully functioning fat absorption system, especially minerals like selenium and zinc. These building minerals, they require magnesium, calcium. They require fully functioning fat digestive system. So if you have a cell problem, if you have a disease problem, you got a cell problem. If you got a cell problem, you got a cell membrane problem. If you have a cell membrane problem, you have a fat problem, because the cell membrane is largely dependent on fats. It's mostly made up of fats, especially cholesterol, which is one of the key reasons why you never want to use a statin drug. You never want to suppress the manufacturing of cholesterol unless you have some kind of weird, strange disease, and there are a few where you have incredibly high production of cholesterol. And this occurs rarely. If you just simply have heart disease or you're concerned about heart disease, this is not a reason to use a statin drug to suppress the body's ability to make cholesterol. Cholesterol manufacturing, like the manufacturing of all biochemicals, is tightly regulated. Any case, if you have a skin health problem, if you have really any health problem, but for our purposes here today, if you have milia, pimples, psoriasis, eczema, step number one is focus on how you're processing fats. That means working on digestive health. Probiotics are incredibly important for helping the body process fat. So is stomach acid, apple cider vinegar, bile salts, the ultimate enzymes from Youngevity, which will get you some bile salts. That's also helpful for processing fats. Lecithin, we've talked about that. That can be helpful for processing fats. Then you want to make sure you're using your fats and fatty vitamins, your essential fatty acids as a supplement, and fatty vitamins as well. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow, and I'll tell you some specific steps that you can use. And then we'll talk about some hormones. Some hormones that are very important for keeping skin healthy too. We'll do all that as we continue talking about skin health and digestive health, all as it regards the amino acids cysteine and protein on the Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to the Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Our number is 855-660-4261. Let's go to Georgia and welcome Don to the Bright Side. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, Ben?
What's going on, Don?
Quick question about the longevity business aspect.
Yes.
I went to the website and I saw that there were many different ways to sign up.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, if you could expound a little bit more on the business. Like, is there a BB value with ordering the products?
Yeah. I'm not
a network marketing thing.
Yeah, I'm not 100% the right guy to talk to, unfortunately, about the business side of things, but I can give you a general idea. There's a couple levels that you can join up. For a one-time $10 fee, you can have a business and you can get your products at the wholesale price and then resell the products and make a little bit of money. That's step number one. But where you really start to make some good money is when you sign up as a distributor, and that requires qualifying every month. And there's a minimum qualification of around I think it's about $120, something like that, between $120 and $130, and that's basically the Healthy Start Pack. For that $120 and $130, you can not only make some money selling longevity products, but you can also start to accumulate. I better, Don, before I put my foot in my mouth here, because I'm not really good at understanding the business, and I don't understand the business that well. I know if you pay $120 to $130 a month and qualify, you can start to really earn some benefits. But what those benefits are, I'm embarrassed to say I don't really know. I just know I love the products. That's what I know, and I know that the products work, and I know they work in my life, and I know they work in my patient's life. But as far as the business side goes, I also know people are making a lot of money doing this. But as far as the business details of it go, Don, I apologize because I'm just not the right guy to talk to. But if you do this, if you send me an email with your name and phone number on there, I will hook you up with the right person, because I don't want to say anything wrong here on the radio. Is that fair, Don?
Good to me.
I wish I had more. I'm almost embarrassed to admit I don't really know enough about it. So if you, I'm just a chemist. I'm just a pharmacist. That's all I am. And I love the products, and I love Dr. Wallach. And that's pretty much it. So if you send me an email with your phone number on there, I'll hook you up with the right person. Okay, bro? And I apologize. I wish I knew more. Thanks for calling, man. All right. That's kind of embarrassing, but that's just how it is. I really have to be honest with you guys. I don't know all the details and all the ins and outs of the business, aside from knowing that the products are awesome and that I love the products, and that some folks are making some significant money selling the products. If anybody out there is listening and has some questions about that, about how you participate in the business, send me an email, put your phone number on there, and I'll definitely hook you up with the right person. All right, let's go to Michigan and say hi to John. What's up, my man? How you doing?
Good, Ben. Could you give me some information to help someone with menstrual cramps?
Yes, menstrual cramps, big problem. Number one, essential fatty acids. That's probably the key. Fat absorption and essential fatty acids. Estrogen, the hormone estrogen is involved when you have PMS issues or menstrual cramps. Imbalances in estrogen and other hormones, especially progesterone. Estrogen is actually a family of hormones, so how estrogen is broken down can change the ratios and proportions of the different estrogen children, if you will, in the estrogen family. So using essential fatty acids, using digestive enzymes, supporting fat absorption is very important. Lecithin after meals, bile salts after meals, digestive enzymes, as I say. Probiotics, super important. Bacteria in the gut, good bacteria in the gut are really important for helping process fats. If you have a problem with bacteria in the gut, you don't have enough, or you have the wrong type of bacteria in the gut, that can cause problems processing fats and ultimately menstrual cramps. Focusing on digestive support is also important. Using progesterone cream, that's an awesome way to deal with PMS issues. Everybody can benefit really from, even if you don't have menstrual cramps. Even men benefit from progesterone cream. Progesterone has a nice relaxing and calming effect. If you're going through menopause and you're dealing with anxiety or insomnia, progesterone can be wonderfully beneficial. If you don't want to deal with progesterone cream, you can use pregnenolone. Pregnenolone capsules, 100 milligrams a day of pregnenolone can be helpful for all female reproductive issues, including menstrual cramps and PMS issues. Pregnenolone's been used to treat seizure disorders, anxiety issues. Pregnenolone is amazingly beneficial and cheap, too. It's along the lines of progesterone cream. Those would be my main strategies. Magnesium can also be helpful, by the way, and the B vitamins. So use the Osteomag, the ultimate EFAs, the Healthy Start Pack pretty much, the ultimate enzymes, the Biolumin Nightly Essence, pregnenolone, 100 milligrams progesterone cream. For you guys who are interested in using progesterone cream, try to find a compounding pharmacist who can make a 5 or 10% progesterone cream for you, rather than the 2% that you get over the counter. 2% will work, but just not as well as the 10%. Those are my strategies for dealing with menstrual cramps. And also just relaxing techniques like deep breathing, that can help also. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Where would you use that cream at?
Rub it anywhere on your body, but especially on the upper arm, the bottoms of the feet, the thighs, the inner thighs, the upper arm, the inside part of the upper arm. You want to put it on the thinner skin to get better absorption. Usually, though, the inner thigh or the upper arm are the best lower arm. I'm sorry, lower part of your arm are the best places.
Thank you.
Okay, John, thanks so much. All right, hang tight, guys. If you're on hold, we'll get to you when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back after this. Don't go away. All right, we're back on The Bright Side. Let's go off to Texas and welcome Susan to the show. What's going on, Susan?
I have heart disease. I've had 4 strokes. I have kidney disease and diabetes. Just to name a few.
You sound good. How old are you, ma'am? Or roughly?
I'm 3. And I am doing pretty good. I just started on the longevity products just this last week, and I'm already seeing some help. But my question is, I want to get off my statin medication, which I've been on since I was in my late 20s.
Did you say you're 63, Susan? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
63.
Oh, that's 6'3".
5'3".
Oh, 5'3". Oh, you're a young woman, ma'am.
I know.
Let's get you straightened out here, okay?
I need to. I'm taking like 20 medications. And
well, that's not a good thing. Oh, my God. Now, how can any medical professional think that's okay? The 20? Are you kidding me? Is it the same doctor doing this to you?
I'm sorry?
It's not the same physician doing this with putting you on 20 meds, is it?
No.
It's just
I have an internal medicine doctor that took the medicines, and the kidney doctor's trying to get me off of them.
All right.
I'm stage 4 kidney failure.
This stuff is going to wreak havoc on your body, man. First of all, we got to get your digestive system under control. You got to have a whacked out digestive system with all these drugs. It's got to be messed up. There's no way you can absorb nutrients, so we got to straighten that out first of all. You ever hear the saying, "A longest journey begins with a single step"? That's how we got to take this. That's the approach we got to take when when a body is really in distress. When the body is under duress after years and years and years of whatever's been going on, we got to start very slowly and sequentially and step by step. So first things first, let's get this digestive system straightened out. Get yourself on the Biolumin Nightly Essence and do it today. I wouldn't wait one day. I'd do it as soon as you get off the phone. Call Longevity and get yourself on the Biolumin Nightly Essence probiotics. They are fundamental to good health, and they're fundamental to digestive health specifically. Secondly, immediately, and when I say immediately, I mean as soon as you hang up the phone, get yourself a notebook and start writing in that notebook every time you put a morsel in your mouth, a crumb in your mouth, whatever you eat, write it down in a book, and then write down what happens to your digestive system, after you eat that food, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and keep track of it. Every time you eat a food, write down the food, and then write down how your digestive system is responding every 2 or 3 or 4 hours. Diarrhea, constipation, loose stools, you got to have something like that. Gas, bloating, whatever it is, heartburn, and then write that down. And keep a running total. After a couple of weeks, you're going to start to notice there's certain foods that are problem foods for you. This whole process will be made much easier if you eat very simply. You don't eat complicated foods. You should never step foot into a restaurant. You shouldn't even breathe the air in a restaurant with being on 20 meds and having these kinds of health problems. Certainly not eating food and not eating restaurant food or processed food or frozen food or supermarket food. Eat as simply as possible. Eat foods that only have 1 or 2 or 3 working parts to them. Just make it very easy on your digestive system. Focus on smoothies and vegetable juices. Get on bone soup. Use liquid nutrition. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine is ideal for this. So you get the nutrients without the body having to do a lot of work. Your body is under duress, so you want to reduce the load and the workload on the body. And this is chiefly going to be digestive workload. So the less work your digestive system has to do, the more resources your body is going to have available to it for healing. Using smoothies, juices, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, eating as simply as possible and keeping track of your foods. That's step number 1. And then, actually, step number 1 is the probiotics, the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Step number 2 is keeping track of all your foods. Start to get in more protein and less refined sugars and carbohydrates. That means breads, fruit juices, certainly desserts and sweets are verboten, forbidden. You should never be eating those. I mean, you have a condition at this point in your life, ma'am, where you don't have you don't have the luxury of being able to indulge in certain foods, at least until you get everything straightened out. So getting yourself off of the processed breads and flours and cereals and grain types of foods, and instead getting those calories from easy to digest protein. If you can do whey, it's the best. If you can't do whey, try egg. If you can't do egg, do hemp seed protein. Make sure your protein is mixed up in a smoothie so it's easy to digest, and use the digestive enzymes with the protein. You see how we're working here, ma'am? We're giving your body nutrients that are easy to process, and we're focusing on the digestive system. Stay on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You may want to double the dose of it, but make sure you're sipping on it all day long. And then if you want to throw in a couple other things, get on the Ultimate Daily, multiple vitamin, and then throw in the Z-Radical as well. There's tons more you could do, but as I say, the longest journey begins with a single step. So this is going to be a step-by-step process, but what you'll notice is once you start doing these things, you're going to notice that you're feeling better, and you can start to wean yourself off of the drugs and very, very, very likely add years to your life as well. Thanks for your call, Susan. If you want to stay in touch with me, that would be great. Just shoot me an email, ben@ksco.com, or just call me on the radio. Appreciate it. Does that help, ma'am?
It sure does. Thank you.
God bless, Susan. Good luck with everything. All right, Irene in California, welcome to the bright side. What's going on? Irene, going once. Oh,
I am
wait a minute.
Sorry.
No worries. How you doing, Irene?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. How can we help you?
Okay. Well, I've got, I was tested, this was several years ago, for hypothyroidism.
Okay.
And I'm almost sure I've got adrenal fatigue also.
They're linked. If you have one, you got the other. If you have your thyroid is pooped out, chances are your adrenals are overworked. There's a very important connection between the adrenal glands and the thyroid. Chemists or biochemists or doctors will call it the adrenal thyroid axis. An axis can be thought of as a straight line with your adrenal glands on one end of that straight line and the thyroid on the other end of that straight line. The adrenals are your emergency glands, emergency energy glands. They're like a generator for when your power goes out in your home. You have an emergency generator to make sure you can still run your electricity and your lights and such. The adrenal glands are like that. They provide emergency generator energy. On the other hand, your thyroid is the gland that regulates normal energy under normal conditions. When the thyroid starts to give out, the adrenal gland will pick up the slack, and when the adrenal gland is overworked, the thyroid will start to slow down. Both work together. So if you are hypothyroid, there's a very good chance that you have adrenal fatigue. So then the question is, what the heck is going on in the adrenal glands? Why are my adrenal glands pooped out? Why are my adrenal glands overworked? Well, the adrenal glands are the stress glands, and that means there is some kind of chronic stress that is getting into the body. Same story. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's the same story. Some kind of offending agent, some kind of stressor, some kind of burden is being put on the body, and the body can't handle it. The biggest burden on the body, the ultimate adrenal stimulus, the ultimate cause of adrenal activation is something called hypoxia, which is a fancy way of saying low blood oxygen. So the first thing to do for all adrenal fatigue issues, and you're in good company, Irene, millions upon millions of Americans are dealing with this problem. The first thing to do is make sure you're oxygenating correctly. Make sure you're practicing your deep breathing techniques. Slow, deep breathing in through the nose, slowly. It's very important. The slowly part is super important. If you go fast, you can mess things up. So slowly in through the nose, and then slowly out through the nose. The belly goes, when you take your inhale, the belly goes out. When you take your exhale, when you push out the air, the belly goes in. And you want to do it really, really slowly, and you always want to exhale a little bit more than you inhale. The exhale is really where the relaxation takes in. It's like when we're scared, we always go like this. And that's adrenal activation. That's fear. You know how you get surprised and you suck in real quick? That's the inhale. That's the sympathetic side. That is the stress side, if you will. The relaxation is on when you find out that the danger is past. You go, oh, like that. That is the exhale. That's where you activate the relaxation response. So taking in, breathing in and then breathing a little bit extra out is where you activate the stress response. You'll calm down the adrenal glands. That's step number one. Step number two, make sure you're getting enough salt. The adrenal glands are very responsive to salt. Get on Celtic sea salt. You can also use your Beyond Tangy Tangerine or your Ultimate Classic. Those will also get you some nice salt minerals. Between the Celtic sea salt and your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, that'll take care of your salt needs. Nobody should ever be on a low salt diet, by the way. Low sodium chloride diet. I hate that word salt because whenever we hear salt, we're always thinking sodium chloride, but really the salts are all your minerals. So anyway, Celtic sea salt, Ultimate Classic, Tangy Tangerine, and oxygenation. And then the third thing for the adrenal glands is vitamin C. No gland in the body is more dependent on vitamin C than the adrenals. I'd be using 5,000 to 10,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. Make sure you do it in small doses because it'll give you a little diarrhea if you do too much. So you want to sip on it slowly. You'll get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. We're running out of time here. Zinc 50 milligrams a day, very, very important for the adrenal glands. If there's any digestive distress or there's any blood sugar stress on the body, that will also mess up the adrenal glands and cause adrenal fatigue issues. So you're going to want to focus on problem foods and on eating less calories, getting more nutrients with in terms of liquid nutrients, more nutrients, less calories, and then keeping your blood sugar stable by using more protein, especially whey protein, and getting on the Sweeties product, one of my favorite of the longevity products. Tons more you could do. The Biolumin Nightly Essence might help you as well. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening, folks. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Bye for now.